Hey Josh, I got an idea for you. How about you take those pans and stick 'em up your... Hello everyone, I'm Dan the Man. Well, Cody and Jessica finally ran out of luck and one of them went home. Obviously would have baked on Cody going home first, but a lot of Jessica's questionable decisions finally caught up with her. I will give Josh credit though. Going into this week, I thought everyone would coast until Cody or Jessica went home, barring one winning safety and the other winning veto, which came close to happening, but no cigar. But Josh proved to at least have some mind of his own and kept it from being a completely boring week after all. First off, Josh's decision to want Elaine out. I get why people don't trust her, but I'm baffled why Josh finds her the most threatening person. She has no one who trusts her save Mark, and even he knows she can be sketchy, so not sure what Josh was thinking. Yeah, it could be argued if Jessica had stayed, she would have gone after Paul, so for a lot of people, letting him keep fighting was not a bad thing. But Jessica hated Josh, so not sure why he thought keeping Elena was the better option. Either way, though, I was glad he did. I can't imagine he was going to ever get Elena out, though. Paul is the one calling the shots. Josh seemed to think he could get Paul to come around, but Josh is delusional. Cody and Jessica are the only two who are not drinking Paul's Kool-Aid. They would almost surely put him up, and if Paul tried to work out a deal or call a truce, they would have just told him to F off. Except they wouldn't have said F off, but you know what I mean. No way was Paul ever going to be on board with getting anyone else out besides Jessica or Cody. Even if Josh had a good argument, which he didn't really, Paul never listens to anyone anyway. Every conversation to Paul is not an exchange of ideas, but a matter of how long until you tell Paul he's right and give him everything he wants, exactly the way he wants it. The only way anyone but Jessica was going home once she was on the block was if Paul's allies either went behind his back or they said, "Screw you, Paul, we're voting Elaine out, so deal with it." Neither of which were happening. The only way Jessica was staying was if Paul agreed to it, and he was never going to. Which brings me to Jessica and Cody's plans for Jessica to throw the safety competition. Honestly, it wasn't the worst idea anyone has ever had in this game, but it was far from a given they could have made sure that Cody would win the competition and Jessica would lose. So they were somewhat lucky they were able to make it work out that way. But there is a valid point that if Jessica lost the safety competition and went up automatically, at least they couldn't backdoor her, which is what they would have done once Cody won immunity. And while they didn't know it at the time, Christmas Rig ensured that short of both of their names being picked so she couldn't replace both of them, the backdoor was going to happen. So at least Jessica had a chance to save herself, even if it didn't work. Now the argument people made is that Jessica and Cody sealed their fate when they were not the head of household's target. But looking at their past and everything that happened, how could they have possibly known Josh was not targeting them? Yes, Josh and Christmas did want Elena to go first, but Josh had fought with them all season. Josh attacked Jessica with personal comments and ensured her she was going home in the nomination ceremony, even though he didn't put her up. Then Christmas took Cody out of the POV competition, even though him winning would have sealed Elena's fate. Gee, I wonder why they thought Josh and Christmas were not working to save them. If Josh and Christmas wanted Cody and Jessica not to seal Jessica's fate, the way to do that would have been to tell them. Not give them the most vague of hits after attacking them when they clearly didn't want to talk to you and expect them to pick up on it. No one, after what had just happened, would have gotten that Josh was hinting they were not the target. Yeah, neither of them were going to listen to Josh after the way he's been behaving all this time, but Christmas should have talked to them. They would have listened to her, but instead she didn't, and then acted in a manner the opposite of someone wanting to save them would have acted. Which brings me to Christmas using the ring of replacement. Seriously, that was an idiotic move. Yes, it sealed Jessica's fate, but Christmas in theory didn't want Jessica to go over Elena. So why help ensure Jessica goes over Elena? Jessica and Cody had liked her, but she burned that bridge. So by doing that, she made two enemies she didn't have before, and at the time there was no guarantee both wouldn't have still survived had Jessica won the veto. And now Christmas is vulnerable to being backdoored, and best case scenario might have lost Cody's vote in the jury, all to help ensure an outcome she didn't particularly prefer. The editing made it look like it was mostly Josh signing off on it, and he did sign off on her using it. But Christmas and Josh had decided against it, but Paul would not stop and pushed shortly before the ceremony. Yeah, I think if Josh had held his ground, she would have not used it, but Paul definitely had his hand in that going down. I think most of it was that people are intimidated by Paul. Short of Cody and Jessica, he has the whole house under his thumb and has shown he can and will turn the entire house on you and make your last week unpleasant before having you voted out near unanimously. And even though she will never admit it, I think Christmas was afraid to make a move that ultimately said, "I'm not doing what you want, Paul. Live with it." It's a move I think she will later regret, and she probably wishes she hadn't told Paul about the ring. is what was he ever going to do but try to talk her into using it when she was not the one who needed it. But apparently everyone thinks they have to tell Paul everything. It must be some new addition to the rules or something. So with that covered, on to the big topic, which is to claim that Jessica made a horrible, stupid, lame-brained move using a hex last week, and that she threw away her chance for $500,000 for a guy she's known barely over a month. Honestly, it's an unpopular opinion, but given how this week went down, I do not think she made the wrong call saving Cody with it. For one, and most didn't see this or just ignored it, but by the time eviction night rolled around, everyone had said that if Jessica didn't use the hex, they were going to vote her out, not Cody. So by the time she used it, she did save herself, and everyone would be saying she made the worst move ever if she hadn't used it. Where she likely made the real mistake was telling everyone and then entertaining the deal to not use it, which she then went back on. Technically, she was never wholeheartedly on board, but Paul didn't like thinking he pulled his magic and then having Jessica tell him F no. His ego couldn't take that. If she had made the deal and kept it, they likely would have voted Cody out. But the fact was, from her viewpoint, she had no reason to trust the people who have lied to her all season were telling her the truth that time. Also, Cody was her only ally and the one person who, if he won head of household, would definitely not put her up, and if he won veto, would take her down. If Jessica had kept the deal, or just plain not told that he won and not used the hex and let Cody go home, obviously she would have not gone home this week, but so what? She would have gone down the target list a little, possibly, but as long as Paul ran the house, she was never staying long. What difference is this week or 2 weeks from now if you still lose? Her best chance at actually winning this season was for her and Cody to scrape and claw their way into surviving long enough that the rest of the house was forced to eat their own and imploded, and the chaos that ensued either caused them to change their target or it changed the power structure. It didn't work out, but I think it was the best chance of winning. Yes, I am sure her feelings for Cody were part of it, but even though it didn't work out, I don't think the ensured way to stay a little longer but ultimately lose was better than making a more risky move and rolling the dice that it would improve your chances if it actually worked. And if it wasn't for Christmas rig, there is a chance it would have worked and everyone would be saying Jessica made a brilliant move. Hindsight is always 20/20. I really got nothing to say about the veto, although the OTEV that possessed Piglet was one of the more creative OTEV competitions. So props to the producers and creators on that. I thought that it was funny they did OTEV with so many people in the house. This is usually one they do at or near the final 6, so I was wondering at first, especially before the possessed Piglet part was revealed, and it looked like the Piglet helped me find my mommy thing, if production wasn't thinking Christmas would not use her ring, so there was a chance of Cody winning, and Cody and Jessica versus Paul and Josh would continue, which Big Brother clearly is in love with. But because it did fit the horror theme, I guess they did move the OTEV competition up earlier for some reason. But either way, Mark winning and Raven going up didn't change much. A lot of the house guests are getting sick of Raven, but as I've said, Paul is the one calling the shots. And even if the house guests started to think of getting rid of Raven, he was never going to allow that. So ultimately, by that point, Jessica was still on the block, so who was next to her really didn't matter. Jessica was going home. Before I get to if it was the right choice, I do want to touch up on Cody and Josh's fight, because I forgot to make this point when Josh and Mark got into it last week. Josh has got to can it with the damn pots and pans and confrontations. Yes, this time Jessica did start it, although Paul kept it going as he usually does, but no argument that unlike most time, Jessica was the one who started this fight. Oh, incidentally, Cody jumping in to defend her. Hope he enjoys defending Jessica for crap she started. Doubt that if he stays with her, that's going to be the last time. But regardless, the pot and pan thing is not cool. I admit the first time it happened, the humor of Josh making a fool of himself was not lost on me, but you can't bang pans and scream for half an hour, over and over, day after day, to people who are stressed out and trapped in a house with you, and not expect them to eventually lash out. No one can realistically be expected to just take that with no escape from it. Josh almost got his butt kicked by Mark, and if Cody had punched him this time, I would have had no sympathy because Josh would have deserved it. Yes, Big Brother is not about being nice to each other, but you can't poke the bear and then cry because you got bit. Well, apparently you can, because that's all Josh ever does, but he's wrong to think that. Big Brother apparently told Josh not to provoke Cody into lashing out anymore, and that it was his final warning, but Big Brother should have told him to knock it off when Mark lost his temper. They're lucky a fist fight hasn't broken out because of this, and if he keeps it up, one will. Then Big Brother will get blamed, and honestly, if they kick someone out for hitting him after stuff like this, it would be hard not to argue BB stood by and let him provoke them into it. Josh's behavior is pathetic, and he makes a fool of himself and endangers himself constantly doing it to people who can hurt him. And Big Brother also needs to tell Paul to stop provoking him, because 99% of Josh's fights start with Paul telling him to go bug someone. And 99% of the time, Paul encourages him to keep the fight going whether he started it or not. Yeah, Josh is a grown man, so the buck does stop with him, but if Paul was not in there doing that, it never would have gotten to this point. Twice. Okay, enough of that rant. Was Jessica the right choice? For most, she probably was. While an argument can be made keeping Jessica around to fight with Paul is mostly just detrimental to Paul, Jessica is a hothead who gets along with few people, and obviously if she won, but Paul did save himself, then one of the other people who voted her out would have gone home instead. Mark would have benefited from Jessica staying around, since besides Cody, he was the closest thing she had to an ally, but he didn't have the votes. So while it helps secure Paul will continue running the house even more, it is very debatable someone else going was better for anyone's game, except for Cody and Mark's, no matter what Josh thought. As we saw, Alex won the head of household. So while I said this last time and got a bit of a surprise, I assume that her plan will be to put up Elaine and Mark and backdoor Cody, because that is what Paul will tell her to do, and no one ever variates on Paul's plans without his consent, which he never gives. And he definitely won't this time, because if there's one thing Paul wants in this world right now, it's for Cody to go to the jury and get out of the house. Obviously, the safety competition, or Cody's name getting drawn in veto and him winning it, could change the plan. But if neither of those things happen, I'm confident in saying that Cody is going to go home. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, be sure to comment, like, and subscribe. And don't forget to hit that bell to be notified of new videos. I'll be back next week for my thoughts on Alex's head of household, or maybe I should say Paul's head of household, and my thoughts on this week, including whatever is going to happen on Friday's episode. There are a lot of theories floating around, but I'm guessing it will be one of their clip shows. I'm Dan the Man, and I'll see you next time.